I had a video about life, and how JoJo can connect to it, just an all-around deeper video. It's all nice and all, but you know what? I've had it up to here. I have had enough. How strong do you think JoJo is? Because guess what? I've checked all the stats. The anti-feats, the light speed, the less speed. I've high-balled, I've low-balled, I've balled out. I've balled so hard that they couldn't find me, But I'm just done, Why? Because I thought to myself, Caleb, what's the funniest possible thing that you could do for yourself in this case? And I'm like, as I asked myself at like 3 a.m., I had the epiphany, I'm going to go through your guys' scaling and present them in the video. You tell me what you think is right. Comment it out. Argue. I don't really care. But we're going to be finally addressing all of this for the sake of mankind. I can make a video about how part 7 is going to be announced, but we're all doing that already. So I'll save that for later. I'm going to say this once. No, I'm going to say this twice. Once now and at the end again. But I want those who have strong ideas of how the JoJo scaling already works to put in the comments how you think it works. Format like this. You have the strength, you have durability. You get the idea, right? Because if I get a whole general idea of how you guys think it works, and after that I can maybe incorporate it and all that, and I'll make a short of the results, yada, 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 all right? Is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure even light speed? This is easily the most contentious one of all of it, because oh my god, the comments I've gotten for this, Caleb, if you say JoJo is light speed one more time, I'm unsub. I'm like, yo, what the heck? Okay, all right, fine, let's just go about this. Okay, I know that we all love these conversations, because every time that someone talks about it normally, the general audience is like, how does that make any sense? I don't get it. Caleb, I was fine with Star Platinum being light speed. Okay, fine. But how is Joseph Joestar light speed? And actually, I don't like that either. How does that make sense? I don't get it. Why would that make sense? In the context of scaling, the community that does the scaling has travel speed and combat speed. These two things are not the same. Why? Because it is fiction, and one character will show you two different things, and it's up to the viewer on how they will understand this thing. Oh, okay, why does Goku have to take so long to fly somewhere? Can't Goku just go really, really fast? That's a good point. Can't he just go really, really fast? But there's a lot of times you just don't see it. I've been asked, yo, if Star Platinum in all these stands are light speed, why did it take so long to travel all over Egypt? Bro, because that's not the same thing, and different scenarios call for different writing towards the power scaling. I've provided the Stone Ocean page about how Araki's saying, oh, Star Platinum is faster than light. But to that, I'm giving the response of, he could be talking about Star Platinum during time stop. Let's just take that on for the sake of the argument. Let's really just look at that. Faster than light means faster than the speed of light. If you're moving in stopped time, that's infinite speed, not faster than light. Infinite speed means that you cover any distance in 0 time, and since time is stopped, any movement would mean that you're bypassing time entirely, making speed undefined or just infinite, rather than, oh, okay, faster than the speed of light. It'd be way faster than the speed of light. But no, on top of that, it's oh, Caleb, I mean in the comparison to everyone else in stop time, Star Platinum and Jotaro are moving in stop time. That's the speed of light, because time stop is stopping the time. Dude, look at what I just said. Moving in time stop itself is supposed to be infinite speed. But if we're being real and the practicality, the speed of Jotaro and Star Platinum doesn't matter in time stop, because we see the limits on actionable things that they can do during it. And we know that time stop itself is also limited. Same thing with Dio. If you think Dio could move infinitely fast in time stop, because it's okay, it's not just light speed, it's a whole different thing. It's if he's able to do that, he would have done everything during the time stop, and the freaking 5-second thing wouldn't matter, because he's way faster than 5 seconds. But you get the idea, right? Okay, even for Dio too, you know what they have, I have 5 seconds, I have 10 seconds. Okay, we have to traverse insert amount of space in this stop time. Whatever combat or travel speed or whatever the heck is happening in there, it's not a factor of what we consider to be, oh, this is the speed. You look at how fast do you have to be to combat this thing, or how fast did they react to this thing. right? Like, that's the point. But I know that the usual person doesn't mean that they're asking for a buff. Like, if they don't believe that Jotaro and Dio or everybody's like light speed, if they don't believe that already, they're gonna be like, well, obviously that's not what I'm considering. If what I mean then stop time, maybe that's what Araki's considering to be as faster than light speed. But that's like a whole different thing separately, and he would have used the words, oh, during stop time, if that's exactly what the man meant. But yeah, let's say that, you know, fine, okay, let's just full on look at for what it is. All right, what speed do you think they are? All right, you saw Star Platinum catch a point blank bullet. Oh, okay, so faster than a gun. You saw Silver Chariot catch a beam of light. So is that not light? No, like what exactly is that besides being light? If that light isn't moving at the speed of light, then what do y'all think it's moving at? The beam of light is moving at the speed of the bullet? Faster? How much faster? Is it the speed of sound? What proof do we have of this? That's the question, you know? Oh, what about Josuke? You know, he said that he thinks his punches are around 300 kilometers an hour. And, you know, he was faster than Star Platinum, so which is it? And I'm like, bro, Josuke, a character, versus Araki, the writer. Araki had said Star Platinum is like massively faster than light, so like what's going on? And what about when, oh, Dio and Pucci both threw knives? Why didn't Jotaro stop either if he's the speed of light? You have Dio, who threw knives in stop time, and Pucci, who had thrown knives with the power of Made in Heaven before stop time. So clearly whatever speed that they would have to be, it has to be faster than almost everything that we've ever seen, due to the fact that it is impossible to react to this. So if you don't believe the speed of either being the speed of light, you know, okay, fine, what would it be? Are JoJo characters just like all at like the speed of sound or something like that? Like, that doesn't check out. Or how about when Silver Chariot got beat out by Emperor in terms of speed? You know, that's another anti-feat. And we don't have any reason to believe that Emperor moves faster than any gun. And I'm like, okay, hold on, because we've seen Sex Pistols, or however exactly you watch the anime. We've seen that, and that's an actual gun, but alongside that, you have the stand elements that make the bullets even faster, right? We've seen Jotaro deal with a gun at point blank. Even if he expected it to be able to catch the bullet, you have to be faster than the bullet, right? To be able to catch a beam of light and cut it right down the middle, you have to be faster than that beam of light still. You get the point? Because even if you do expect it, say that you're the speed of sound and something is the speed of light. Even if you try to like pref it, you'd be like, oh, okay, hold on, I think I know the path that it's going to. It could blitz right by you. Now, do I understand the issues with JoJo power scaling? For sure. There are inconsistencies, but that is true for every franchise. Look at Dragon Ball, right? That's the most scaled thing of all time. But it's also a gag manga, so certain things that they do are going to be done purely just for the joke, and then there's going to be some serious moments too. That's the whole point. And power scaling isn't just some fan community thing, it's an element of writing. They power scale in Game of Thrones too, like it's everywhere. So what are we really talking about here? Well, with Dragon Ball, it has inconsistencies when it comes to scaling because of how certain events can be interpreted differently. Being 1-to-1 on all of your scaling is actually a bigger feat than anything else because there's always room for error on a lot of stuff. We saw Haku and Zabuza fight in the 4th grade Ninja War, and this is the same Haku and Zabuza that died all the way back in original Naruto, and they got beat. So it's like, wait, is Kid Naruto the same strength as adult Kakashi at this point in Shippuden? It doesn't really add up, but these inconsistencies always will happen in storytelling, and it depends on how often the inconsistency is, and on whether or not it actually isn't an inconsistency, but it's like now a retcon. Well, on to the strength of JoJo, I know that this is also extremely contentious, and it makes sense due to the lack of environmental damage in the manga and anime. That's a major factor in JoJo's scaling debates. It's only an issue when talking about power scaling though. How exactly are you going to say that this character is this strength when I haven't seen them destroy this thing? You know, I get it. That doesn't really come up in the story though. Like, how often will you have to destroy this building? Especially because JoJo kind of believes itself to be in the regular world, but living between the cracks and all. There are certain levels of strength that we just have to kind of infer, and these feats don't just pop up in the way that they do in other manga. People like seeing environmental damage because, you know, even if Dragon Ball has anti-feats, you've seen Goku have an issue with, like, you know, getting hit into a mountain and the mountain doesn't disintegrate. But you've also seen characters like King Vegeta, oh, I wave my hand, planets are destroyed. You've seen people destroying moons, the same moon multiple times. So there's a lot to back up these high power levels. And I guess that JoJo more so isn't like Dragon Ball or other battle manga in that regard because it's JoJo. People also don't really like calculations and assumptions, and I can kind of understand how that gets mixed in together, and they want to be told stuff objectively in the context of the story. Now, what does my viewer self say about all of this as someone who's genuinely watched JoJo, right? Before everything, there's what I see in the show. Seeing is believing. If I see the characters doing something and that action itself can be calculated to certain regular world standards, then I'll use that just to see what's going on. After that, it's seeing what the characters say about themselves and each other. I factor that also into my consideration. If something is said consistently, I'm going to believe it more, especially if it comes from reliable characters. If they tell me 1,000 times over that I chimed in, Star Platinum's the physically strongest stand now, and they've told me essentially exactly like that, well, okay, well, not exactly how that was said, but they just tell me in general, and I'm like, okay, you know, I have reason to believe that Star Platinum is the physically strongest stand. After that, I consider what the author has said outside of the story. Usually this should have the most weight unless the author consistently contradicts their own works and words. In that case, you have to try to consider their best thoughts that, I guess, they find themselves into whatever you're talking about right now. Because I can't say you follow their most recent thoughts when the arc that they wrote was back in, like, I don't know, like 2002, for example. Do you want to go listen to that then when they were writing it, or right now when they're reevaluating it? They can still change it. You know, that's how that works. So we have feats, statements, and author statements. And finally, in a separate category altogether, there are calculations. And calculations can factor in additional context and be grouped with any of the above. They're also the most additional thing to consider, but they're mainly useful when you're considering them with a whole bunch of other evidence. And what gets me, you know, in a video, you know, this is like a non-issue. For example, I was saying something like, you know, Giorno and his life-giving strength, if you use a calculation that puts him at a certain level, he still wins at this hypothetical matchup. If you don't use that calculation, he's still at a lower level, but he still wins because of his abilities and the baseline strength. If I've set the win condition being based on his abilities alongside both his lowest and highest possible strength levels, but I still get the response of, why even mention this high strength level? Because we have the calculations that show the potential capacity for it. That's the entire point. Now, when it comes to JoJo scaling, I think that personally you can be a scaling generalist who believes that all of the JoJo characters are building level for whatever reason. Or you can believe that they're stronger than that, which makes more sense considering the existence of the Pillarman and Dio. And in my view, they're at least city level with, you know, mountain level potential at the high end. If you're really looking at the calcs a different way, you know, you could take it to island level, as crazy as it is. But, you know, it seems excessive for someone who only has them about building level, and I think that there should be at least some evidence for some of the crazier stuff. I also think that people do hate the terms, you know, stuff like building level itself. It sounds stupid. And, you know, honestly, I can get behind that, but how exactly else are you supposed to really quantify it? You know, building level, talent, all that stuff is just numerical value, like threshold. If I give you the direct value of that in whatever it is, being joules or tons of TNT, etc., it still sounds weird to most people. The value of a character's strength isn't the value of the story itself. Power scaling is just seeing how far a character can go in the context of their story and skills, especially when comparing them to other franchises or characters of the same franchise. You know, well, after all this, you know, what am I saying about scaling in this case? I'm saying that scaling is more consistent than people give it credit for. I think if you saw Oingo and Boingo beat up on Dio, you're gonna be all like, oh, this franchise is trash, or maybe you'll just think it's hilarious at the same time. That's what I would do. I think it definitely is funny, but that would be trash. And you do value good power scaling indirectly. Like, that's just how that works for the most part. And are there moments that don't add up perfectly? Yeah, I would say so. But that's true for every fictional series ever created. Well, at least most of them. There's some I can't think of off the top of my head, but I don't get myself invested in everybody scaling. My main thing is that I understand, but alongside me understanding one side, I understand the other too. So it's like, hey, look, if you're going to say that I don't think this and that, it's better to bring up your own scaling and ask people for a comparative sake. That's why I want this commented, because then I can make a short off of it, and then we can get a general idea of what people think it is or doesn't think it is and all that for community's sake, right? That's what truly matters. So, you know, whether you're a generalist or more nuanced on the approach, remember the format, comment your own scaling. I'd love how to see people address this, because I'm sure that there's still a lot of disagreement over the very many years. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hopefully I'll see you all on the next one. We're definitely going to see how this plays out. Until then, peace out and Godspeed.